Good day everyone, we are going to discuss about the indigenous creative crafts in our community that we are interested in it because of its beauty. So, let's begin the discussion about indigenous creative crafts. So what is art? The expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as painting or sculpture. The various branches of creative activity such as painting, music, literature, and dance. Next is what is craft. Is a pastime or an occupation that requires particular skill and knowledge of skilled work. So after that we know now the meaning of art and craft, we are going to differentiate them one another. Art relies on artistic merit, while craft is based on learned skills and technique. Next is the superiority of art over craft. According to Philip Sidney, the art's superiority over craft seems to have its roots in the canon of the Renaissance. There is no denying that art and craft aren't completely separate entities. After discussing about the meaning of arts and crafts and their difference and lastly their superiority with each other, next we will be discussing about the traditional arts and indigenous crafts and their difference between them. What is traditional art? A part of culture of a group of people, skills and knowledge of which are passed down through generations from master craftsmen to apprentices. These are some examples of traditional arts, include folk architecture, maritime transport, and sculpture. What are indigenous crafts? Are the products manually created by ethnic or tribal groups in the Philippines. These arts that are purposive in nature as they reflect the way of life during early times. These are some examples of indigenous crafts, like in wooden or rattan furniture, and handicrafts. Woven abaca or piña cloth and other handmade of carved toy or trinket one usually finds in rural areas was made from indigenous raw materials. So what is their difference with each other? Traditional art would be something like the Tinker or Mona Lisa. Older artworks that were made in the past or just artworks that use the same style, while indigenous crafts would be using materials that aren't normally seen, being sticks, leaves, or indigenous materials. After discussing the meaning, examples, and difference of traditional arts and indigenous crafts, we will now going to discuss about the different local materials that could be used in making beautiful arts and pieces. So, these are the local materials. Rattan, a naturally renewable palm that grows in the tropical regions of Africa, Asia, and Australia and is used for furniture, handicrafts, and building material among others. Abaca, a strong fiber obtained from the leaf stalk of a banana native to the Philippines. It is used in the textile industry to make ropes, strings, threads, and fabric that will later become clothing, curtains, and tapestries. Nipa leaves is probably the oldest palm species with evidence to show that it had. The strong leaf stalks have many structural uses, used for roof stretching, and parts are used for making umbrellas, raincoats, hats, mats, brooms, and baskets. Bori palm, the grandest endemic palm in the Philippines. It is slow-growing perennial. This can be split into finer fibers, dyed and woven into fabric, used into shoes, stick broom, or for weaving. Sawali, a type of traditional woven split bamboo mats used as walls, paneling, or wall cladding in the Philippines. They are used as walls in the traditional nipa huts bahay kubo of the Philippines. So, that are some examples of local materials that can be used in making beautiful arts and crafts. Good afternoon everyone, from visitors from other countries. We are going to talk about the indigenous crafts of Ilocos region. So first, I'll introduce to you the cities and towns that is known for the indigenous crafts. Let me start in Bulinaw, Pangasinan for their mat making, Ilocosur for their pottery making, Paway for their abel making, San Nicolas for their banga making, Adams for their broom making, La Union for their bamboo crafting, Vegan City for their loom weaving. Ilocos is a bastion of heritage preservation in the Philippines where visitors can enjoy vegan, a well-preserved Spanish-Filipino village and a true showcase for Spanish influence in the islands. Other attractions include the ancestral homes, now museums of the colorful characters of Philippine history, the body of the region's most infamous son, former President Ferdinand Marcos lies preserved in a glass case in the Marcos Museum and Mausoleum in Batac, Ilocos Norte. In Cordillera region, abaca is popular in making rope, specialty papers like vacuum bags, currency, and tea bags. There are also handcrafts like bags, furniture, carpets, and clothing made of abaca. Baskets are mainly used by the Cordilleras for their occupation. And lastly, for their bulol making, bulul, also known as bul or tinagtago, is a carved wooden figure used to guard the rice crop by the Ifugao and their sub-tribe Kalanguya people of northern Luzon. The sculptures are highly stylized representations of ancestors and are thought to gain power and wealth from the presence of the ancestral spirit. In my own opinion, the importance of taking this course for me as a student is to gain more knowledge about the hidden indigenous arts and crafts of the Philippines, so that I can explore myself in knowing all of these crafts that I didn't know and study in the past years, and also I can learn how to make those indigenous arts and crafts that I will study in this course. So, that's all for everyone. Thanks for listening and understanding the Indigenous Creative Crafts in the Philippines. I hope you've learned something that you'll never be forget.